The Gaza Strip bore witness to a somber exchange on February 20, 2025. The air was thick with tension and sorrow as the world watched with bated breath. Hamas, the militant group controlling the Palestinian territory, released the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. This act was a significant gesture, laden with political and emotional weight. This act marked the first phase of a fragile ceasefire agreement, a glimmer of hope in a conflict that has known far too much bloodshed. The agreement, though tenuous, offered a rare moment of optimism. The release, while a positive step, served as a stark reminder of the deep wounds that remain. The scars of conflict are etched deeply into the land and its people. The eyes of the world watched as the bodies were transferred through the Erez crossing. This crossing has seen countless moments of tension and sorrow, and this day was no different. The weight of grief was palpable, a shared sorrow that transcended borders and ideologies. Families on both sides mourned, united in their pain and loss. The event underscored the deeply personal nature of this conflict, where lives lost are not mere statistics, but irreplaceable individuals. Each life lost leaves a void that can never be filled. This initial release represents a crucial test for both sides. It is a delicate dance of trust and caution, with each side wary of the other's next move. It remains to be seen whether this fragile truce can pave the way for more substantial progress. The road ahead is uncertain, fraught with challenges and potential setbacks. The world holds its breath, hoping that this act of humanity, however painful, can serve as a foundation for a more peaceful future. The hope is that from this sorrow, a new chapter of peace can begin. Among those returned were Shiri Bibas and her 2 young children, Ariel and Kafir. The Bibas family, like many others, had their lives irrevocably altered by the conflict. Shiri, a young mother, had her life tragically cut short. Her dreams and aspirations, like those of countless others, were left unfulfilled. Ariel, at the tender age of 4, and baby Kafir, a mere 9 months old, never had the chance to experience a life beyond captivity. Their innocent smiles and laughter are now just memories. Their stories stand as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of this conflict on innocent lives. The loss of such young souls is a poignant testament to the heavy toll of war. Oded Lifshitz, a seasoned journalist and advocate for peace, was also among those returned. His voice, once a beacon of hope, is now silenced. Lifshitz dedicated his life to bridging divides and promoting understanding. His tireless efforts to foster dialogue and unity were well known and respected. His death, a profound loss for both Israelis and Palestinians, underscores the tragic irony of a conflict that continues to claim the lives of those seeking peace. The void left by his absence is deeply felt. The stories of the Bibas family and Oded Lifshitz are not just personal tragedies, they represent the human cost of this protracted conflict. Their legacies serve as a call to action for peace and reconciliation. Their absence leaves a void in the hearts of their loved ones, and a collective sense of loss for all those yearning for a peaceful resolution. The hope is that their memories will inspire a future where such tragedies are no longer a reality. The ceasefire agreement, meticulously negotiated through international mediators, outlines a 2-phased approach to de-escalation. The first phase, marked by the recent release, aims to build trust through reciprocal gestures. 6 living hostages are scheduled for release on February 22, 2025, followed by the return of 4 more bodies the following week. The second phase, set to last 42 days, hinges on a complete Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip and a cessation of all military operations. This period is intended to foster dialogue and lay the groundwork for a more permanent arrangement. The success of this phase will depend on both sides' willingness to compromise and find common ground. The ceasefire, though tenuous, offers a glimmer of hope for a brighter future. It represents a commitment, however fragile, to prioritize diplomacy over violence. The international community must seize this opportunity to support the agreement and encourage further dialogue. To understand the significance of this ceasefire, one must revisit the events of October 7, 2023. On that fateful day, Hamas-led militants launched a surprise attack on Israel, breaching its borders and taking over 250 hostages. The attacks, which included the massacre of civilians, shocked the world and plunged the region into a new cycle of violence. Israel, reeling from the attack, responded with a military offensive aimed at crippling Hamas's military capabilities. The ensuing conflict resulted in widespread destruction and a devastating loss of life on both sides. The international community, caught in the crossfire, struggled to find a peaceful resolution. The October 7th attack marked a turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It shattered any semblance of normalcy and left a trail of trauma that continues to haunt both societies. The ceasefire, while a positive step, cannot erase the pain and suffering endured. Section 5. The weight of diplomacy, international involvement, and reactions. The ceasefire agreement is a testament to the tireless efforts of international mediators, who have worked around the clock to bring both parties to the negotiating table. Their dedication and perseverance have been crucial in reaching this fragile yet hopeful stage. Egypt, playing a pivotal role, facilitated communication between the two sides. Their strategic position and historical ties have made them an indispensable mediator in this complex conflict. The United States, despite its historically complicated relationship with Hamas, has expressed cautious optimism about the agreement, urging both sides to adhere to its terms. This cautious optimism is a reflection of the delicate balance the U.S. must maintain in its foreign policy. The international community recognizes the need for a peaceful resolution. Leaders from around the world have voiced their support, emphasizing the importance of sustained dialogue and cooperation. The conflict's ripple effects, felt far beyond the borders of Israel and Gaza, have destabilized the region and exacerbated global tensions. The humanitarian crisis has drawn widespread condemnation and calls for immediate action. The United Nations has called for a swift and impartial investigation into alleged war crimes committed by both sides. This call for accountability is crucial for ensuring justice and preventing future atrocities. The road ahead remains fraught with challenges. The peace process is delicate, and any misstep could lead to a resurgence of violence. The international community must remain actively engaged, providing diplomatic support and holding both sides accountable for their actions. Continuous pressure and oversight are essential to maintaining the ceasefire. A lasting peace will require more than a ceasefire. It demands a fundamental shift in the dynamics of the conflict. True reconciliation and mutual understanding are the ultimate goals for a stable and peaceful future. Section 6. Scars of War, the human cost on both sides. The human toll of this conflict extends far beyond the headlines. Over 48,000 Palestinians, many of them women and children, have lost their lives, according to Gaza's health ministry. Israel claims to have killed over 17,000 fighters, but the true number of civilian casualties remains disputed. The conflict has exacerbated an already dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The Strip's infrastructure, already fragile after years of blockade, has been decimated by the fighting. Hospitals are overwhelmed, essential supplies are scarce, and the psychological trauma inflicted on the population is immeasurable. The conflict's impact on Israeli society is equally profound. The trauma of the October 7th attack continues to reverberate. Families mourn the loss of loved ones, communities grapple with the psychological scars of war, and the nation remains deeply divided over how to achieve lasting peace. Section 7. The urgency of dialogue, a call for continued negotiations. The ceasefire, while a positive development, is but a first step on a long and arduous road. For this fragile truce to evolve into lasting peace, both sides must engage in meaningful dialogue. This will require painful compromises and a willingness to address the root causes of the conflict. Negotiations must address core issues, including the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the future of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. A just and sustainable solution will require addressing the legitimate grievances of both sides. The international community must create a conducive environment for dialogue. This includes providing economic assistance to rebuild Gaza, addressing the humanitarian crisis, and holding all parties accountable for human rights violations. Section 8. Beyond ceasefire, towards a lasting peace. A lasting peace requires more than just the absence of violence. It demands a fundamental transformation of the relationship between Israelis and Palestinians. This will necessitate addressing the deep-seated mistrust and animosity that have fueled the conflict for decades. Education will play a crucial role in this process. By fostering empathy and understanding between young Israelis and Palestinians, it can help break down the walls of prejudice and create a new generation committed to peaceful coexistence. Economic cooperation can also serve as a bridge between the two societies. Creating shared opportunities for prosperity can foster interdependence and create a shared stake in peace. The international community can play a vital role in supporting such initiatives. Section 9. A world watching hope for a brighter future. The world watches with bated breath as this fragile ceasefire unfolds. The stakes are high, not just for Israelis and Palestinians, but for the entire region and beyond. The cycle of violence has gone on for far too long, leaving a trail of destruction and despair in its wake. The release of the hostages, while a somber reminder of the conflict's human toll, offers a glimmer of hope. It represents a rare moment of cooperation in a conflict marred by mistrust and animosity. The international community must seize this opportunity to push for a just and lasting peace. The road ahead will be long and arduous, but the pursuit of peace is a moral imperative. The world must stand united in its support for a future where Israelis and Palestinians can finally live side by side in peace, security, and dignity.